Welcome to Little Koi Out of the Frying Pan, Thriving After Trauma. This blog post is titled, They Can't Believe I Let My Kids Act This Way. Mom, I am really struggling with PMS and feeling grumpy right now. I don't know what to do, I said, hanging my head. My 12-year-old self was still new to all of these hormones, so I went to my mother to ask for help rather than get myself in trouble by having an outburst. My mother replied, Brielle, get out of my face. I don't want to hear about it. You need to pray about that. That is a sin. Growing up, having anything than a happy attitude was a sin. Now, PMS itself was not a sin, but feeling grumpy or irritable was. At 12 years old, I was expected to manage my hormones through prayer. I was not allowed to admit I was feeling anything other than happy. My mother would bully and taunt me by chanting, Crabby Ellie, Crabby Ellie, when I was feeling the most hormonal. But of course, reacting negatively to this would get me in more trouble. However, my mother's primary excuse for her verbal or physical outburst on my body was, it's hormones. She never had to pray it away or take responsibility for her rages because it was hormones' fault and something she couldn't control. She extended so much more grace and understanding to herself. Unfortunately, when I became a parent, I also believed that children must always be happy and respectful. When the kids were younger, I admittedly had unrealistic expectations of them. One of our children was prone to meltdowns when they were younger. They would be sent to their rooms for being disrespectful. It did not occur to me that the meltdowns could be an overwhelmed nervous system, having a bad day, or simply not knowing how to communicate their feelings. In my previous blog post, I told you I would share what ultimately changed my outlook on children and what will shape my future in parenting in a healthier way. The very thing that changed my outlook was this quote by Rebecca Eames. So often, children are punished for being human. They are not allowed to have grumpy moods, bad days, disrespectful tones, or bad attitudes. Yet, we adults have them all the time. None of us are perfect. We must stop holding our children to a higher standard of perfection than we can attain ourselves. This quote was by Rebecca Eames, author of Newbie's Guide to Positive Parenting. I read this quote on a Gentle Parenting Facebook page I had been following, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. This exact quote was an instant game changer for me. I realized how true this is. So often children are punished simply for being human. I guiltily realized how much more grace I gave myself than my kids when it came to being human. So I command myself to change the narrative and my outlook regarding the kids being upset, having a bad day, or even having a disrespectful tone. This change started when the kids were about 8 and 10. They are 13 and 16 now. Changing the narrative helped me see my children in a brand new, refreshing light. Instead of seeing these small humans as people just out to torment me, I started viewing them as small humans learning, growing, and exploring a big and confusing world. My duty is to help them feel, learn, and manage their emotions, not just shut them down simply because I don't want to deal with a bad attitude. Here is a recent example. The other day, I had fun dinner plans with one of my children. However, before we left the house, they asked for a 7-day advance on their allowance. Now, it had always been a family rule that more than 5 days advance is not allowed, and I reminded them of this. When I asked them what they needed the money for, they told me they wanted to buy something but did not want to dip into a fund they were saving for another fun thing. I explained that this was all part of budgeting and prioritizing and money management. They were not happy with this answer. Now, old me would have told them to get over it and probably cancel dinner plans based on their bad attitude. However, currently let them have their disappointment and vent. And after they settled back down, we carried on with our dinner plans and had a fantastic night. While I did feel frustrated that they were angry at me for upholding a rule that they knew very well, I slowed down and reminded myself that it was upsetting to receive a disappointing answer. They weren't directing their anger at me, but they were upset about not receiving the response they wanted. And that is okay. When was the last time I was happy with receiving a disappointing answer? I don't remember a time. So why punish my children for feeling upset? I have had observers tell me they can't believe I let my children act that way. Now, of course, I don't let our kids act any old way, but I do let them have feelings and even allow them to direct their angry feelings at me if it's appropriate. I have pissed off my kids before. I know that's surprising considering how perfect I am. LOL, just kidding. As a parent, I can stand my ground while being compassionate and empathetic toward the situation. It does not mean they get away with things, but they are allowed to have feelings. I want our children to know how to express and manage their emotions healthily, but they can't learn that if they're not allowed to have those feelings in the first place. Our kids are allowed to have bad days without reason. Now, they are not allowed to take out their anger out on us or each other, but they are allowed their space without being in trouble for it. When the kids do have an off day, I have learned that most of the time, it's nothing a little extra TLC can't help, such as a special snack, a foot rub, or simply a long hug without words. I know that when I have a bad day, having some extra TLC helps a lot more than being berated. Why not extend the same courtesy to our children? Treating our children with compassion and respect has been returned back to me. Now, when I'm having a bad day, they both actually ask me, is there anything I can do to make your day better? And my daughter even offers me foot rubs. Since being more open to allowing our children to be human and have feelings, I have noticed that they feel more open to talk about things or coming to us to ask for help. In fact, the one who used to have meltdowns as the primary response to big feelings is now one of the most articulate people I know in identifying and describing the deeper reason they were upset. Not simply that they were upset, but verbalizing the actual deeper rooted reason and responding healthily. They have more self-awareness of their feelings and triggers than most adults. Now, writing this is so much easier said than done. I still struggle with feeling triggered by bad attitudes and my children getting away with things I never did as a child, as addressed in my previous blog post. But cycles can be broken with small changes. I know it's overwhelming to be a cycle breaker, and sometimes we don't even know where to start. The first small change I made was this. When my children became upset, instead of telling them to get over it or instantly sending them away, I started asking if there was anything I can do to make their day better. If they're having a bad day, I would ask them, do you need to vent, have alone time, or have a hug? Asking this empowers them to verbalize what they need. Sometimes they don't know, and that's okay. I just let them know I'm here with a snack, a hug, or a listening ear when they're ready. It does not have to be complicated to make an impact. Small changes lead to tremendous results. You can do this. We can do this. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye.